All right, guys, I just had to jump on here real quick and make a video. Obviously, the NCAA tournament is getting ready to kick off, and I was laying here thinking about it and getting all excited to get my DVR set, and it occurred to me, the 133-pound bracket. I'm going to go with RBY. I mean, he's my pick. I'm a Penn State guy, born and raised in Central PA, so it's kind of obvious. But regardless, but RBY is going to have his hands full. Obviously, it's a tough bracket, and I'm not going to run through the whole bracket. I just wanted to focus on this one aspect of the bracket, which was Austin Desanto. And I was just looking up some stats and kind of reviewing some information here. And what I realized about Desanto is, and maybe you guys have noticed this as well, but he hasn't been wrestling his best as of late. And, if you're like me, you probably remember, a few years back in 2019, Desanto first came to Iowa from Drexel. He was good at Drexel, there's no doubt. I mean, this kid, he came in like a ball of fire and, transferred to Iowa because I believe, number one, Spencer Lee kind of reached out to him. And number two, I think he felt like that was the best place for him to win an NCAA title. And so, Desanto makes the move, and in his first year, he goes on a tear. I mean, I was looking at the, wrestle stat because obviously I kind of get my years mixed up. But in 2019, he owned wins over Suriano and RBY. As he came in like a complete savage. He was just wrestling. I mean, it almost looked like a Terry Brands clone. And, for those of you who are old enough to remember how Terry Brands wrestled, he was just a monster. I mean, he was a savage, and, both the Brands were. And Gable kept them on a tight leash in a way, but he also knew that's who they had to be. They had to wrestle like savages. They had to go out there and get in a street fight within the rules. And that's what they did, and that's why people loved watching them wrestle, because they were so physical and intense, and they were going to beat you up as bad as they could possibly beat you up without breaking the rules. And that's what they did. That's what the Brands twins used to do. And so Desanto comes in, and, he's basically a clone of that. He came in, he was super physical, nothing fancy. He's not, nothing against the kid. I'm not trying to take anything away, but he's not a super athlete. He's just physically tough. And, he goes straight forward, and that's what his, skills are, and that worked for him in 2019. And then, I was still looking up the stats, and then in 2020, he kind of comes in and picks up where he leaves off, and he owns a win over Seth Gross in 2020. But then his antics started to kind of, it started to get people's attention of the media. I should probably say all the wrong people started noticing, and he was just kind of doing some of the things that, were similar to what the Brands brothers used to do. And again, if anybody's ever seen any of that footage, or remembers how, Terry and Tom Brands were, I mean, they were just, they wrestled super hard, but, they were so intense they could barely compose themselves. Tom Brands himself told the story about a time when he was wrestling a guy, and the guy was stalling and, kept going out of bounds, and Brands ran back to the middle and sat down, right in the middle of the mat, just sat on his butt as if to say, let's go. You going to wrestle or what? And Gable got in his ear after that. But it's Desanto came in and was of that same philosophy. He was doing the same thing, and it was working. And he was well on his way to a national title. Again, look at those names of some of the people he beat. Suriano, RBY, Seth Gross. He beat all of those guys. And, what ended up happening was in 2020, he started to, like I said, get a little out of control, and he was disciplined for it. There was disciplinary action taken. He was suspended from the team. It all kind of started with the Nebraska match, and, he kind of had some post-match antics against, Brian Pesca, and then, after that, he kind of got in trouble again in the Maryland duel, and the coach suspended him. And so what I've seen from that point forward, and again, you guys can agree or disagree with this, but what I've seen is Desanto trying to contain himself. The beast has been chained, if you will. He's not allowed to wrestle like a savage. He hasn't been allowed. And the irony is it's the Brands who have kind of put these restrictions on him, even though they were that way themselves. And that worked for them. You know, they were like that their entire careers until they were done competing in the Olympics. I mean, Terry Brands was not a great. I mean, again, I love watching Terry Brands. I'm a huge fan, but I'm saying like he wasn't great athletically. He was just physical and mean and aggressive, and that's how he wrestled, and that worked. That's why everybody was so surprised when, he lost to Kendall Cross in the trials, and then Cross goes on to win gold. Terry Brands was supposed to win that gold. And then, Brands comes back for one last run in 2000 and ends up with a bronze, and, the rest is history. But I'm just saying, if Austin Desanto wants a shot at this NCAA title in 2021, he's got to go back to wrestling like a savage. And the Brands brothers have to realize that. And they can't put these restrictions on him. He's got to come out and just wrestle nasty, straightforward, hard, physical. So I just had to put that out there real quick because I was sitting around thinking about it, and that's how he wins a title. If he doesn't wrestle like that, I don't know. I mean, he'll probably be an All-American, but I just don't see him getting to the top of the podium unless he brings that old Desanto back, that 2019, early 2020 Austin Desanto that just wrestled like an absolute beast, like went out and tried to fight people, So, like I said, if he doesn't do that, I just don't see him bringing gold home, But the bracket, like I said, it's loaded. Obviously, Fix, RBY, Desanto. I mean, the list goes on and on. But, once again, I'm pulling for RBY. It seems like he's got Desanto figured out, but, obviously he's got to get through the tough bracket as well. So that's all I got. I'll see you down the road.